She's like, look, I'm getting ready to go out of town for a little while. I want you to make sure you take care of Bobby. When he wakes up, let him know that I left. I said, oh man,
Real life. If it ain't real life, it ain't acting.
It ain't real life. Just a real life street star. You know what time it is. You mentioned that both you and him are noted for beating Fed cases.
yeah.
Um, for the people that don't know, do you know what Irv's Fed case was about? Can
Um,
you
um,
reiterate for the
um,
people?
well, I know it had to do, of course, with taxes, but it had to do with a whole bunch of other stuff. See, the feds, the same thing with me with the source. Irvin was making so much money, and we was making so much money that the feds automatically think that there has to be drugs involved. Then they're looking at the guys that who are with us because the guys who we are hiring, these guys all got criminal records. So they're going through the shit and they're doing their due diligence and they're saying, wait a minute, there has to be some type of illegal activity in this. If we just fuck it, let's just throw it against the wall and see if it stick. And that's what they did. And it didn't work on both of them. They didn't do their homework because both of us made so much money that we didn't have to do that stuff anymore. They was too late. We employed these guys and we got them off the street. We didn't have to sell coke no more. We didn't have to rob people with guns anymore. We didn't have to fucking steal no more. We didn't have to sell heroin no more. That was over with. We're making millions of dollars with magazines, and they were making it with music. And they didn't understand that people from the streets who wasn't college, didn't go to college, hell, didn't even go to high school, could make all this money. Now they know because, of course, as time went on. But yeah, they was a little bit behind the curve, as they say. You know what I'm saying? And I ended up taking mine to trial and one. He ended up taking his trial one. Like there's not too many people who could say that.
No, it's real. You mentioned Ja, Jay Z, and DMX. How close do you feel that album was? How close do you think Irv got to possibly getting that done?
It was too many egos involved. Too many egos. Too many egos. I know Irv wanted it bad. Too many egos and too much red tape. Irv's ego's big as fuck too now. Let's not God bless Irv, but Irv, boy, you know what I'm saying? That confidence was crazy, but that was part of the reason why he was so successful. Like you really couldn't tell Irv shit. I remember one time I was with Bobby Brown and we down in Miami and I'll never forget this. So I had rented out J Lo's house and me and my father was there. It was in Miami, and Bob and Whitney had came down. It was the first time I met Whitney. I've known Bob damn near all my life, and they had Bobby Kristina. Man, God rest both of them. Man, she probably was about maybe 7 years old, the most 6, 7. And I remember we went out on jet skis, and me and my father had a small boat, a nice one though, little kind of motorboat. So we had Bobby Christina, and Bobby had the jet ski and had Whitney on the back of him. So we're driving around the bay. Of course, it says low wake. So of course, Bobby says, "Hey, he doesn't pay attention to anything." Bob's low wake. That's where Bob's going. You know what I'm saying? So they go to the low wake. They get stuck. So now they're stuck in the middle. So it's getting nighttime. So Bobby Christina's crying. It's like, oh man, we're trying to figure out. So we had a rope. We tied it to them. We went real slow, and then we're trying to pull them out the wake. And it's nighttime at this point. So now it doesn't even start. So when you're in the bay in Miami, there's big, huge, beautiful houses all on the bay. We pull up to somebody's house, and this is a true story. I couldn't believe this shit. So we helped Bobby and them, and Bobby, Whitney, and Bobby Christina get up. You could see the house. So the lady came. Me and my father are still trying to tie up because we would have to come back and get him in the morning. So we're trying to get all that situated. We're watching them go to the house. It's like they're walking through the yard from the water. They getting them up, go to the yard from the dock. They go into the yard. Big house, big glass. So a lady comes down, a white bathrobe. It's a white lady, and she's looking through. And then Whitney's like, "It's Whitney Houston, and we need your help." And She let him right in. You could see the husband coming down the stairs, big white guy, bald head. Older. These were older people. They must have fucking freaked out. They let them all in. Me and my father still getting bit up by mosquitoes and shit. So they called a cab and ended up going to the. I think they went. Yeah, they went back to the house. We ended up going back to the house. The next day we came back. Both of the some reason the boat and the jet ski sunk to the fucking bottom. I had to pay like 40 fucking $1,000 for that shit. So Whitney had called me a couple of mornings later and said, "Listen, I want you to meet me downstairs." And I was like, "What the fuck is going on?" Like, I didn't know what was going on. Now Whitney had a manager at the time. Now at this time they had moved to the Turnberry Suites. So this is probably about maybe 3, 4 days later that they went from J Lo's house. I was still staying there, but I got a room up there too. So Whitney called me downstairs. We went downstairs, and it was early in the morning. She said, "Look, Bobby was still asleep." I didn't know what the fuck was going on. I was nervous as hell. She says, "Look, you're Bobby's close friend. He speaks highly of you, and we really, what I'm saying, like we really fuck with you. You know what I mean? Whitney was real as hell. But there's like this white dude and shit who I guess was a manager. He looked like he was skied out of his mind. He was like walking back and forth, going back and around. So I'm looking at this nigga like he's bothering me and shit, but I'm trying to keep cool for Whitney. She's like, "Look, I'm getting ready to go out of town for a little while. I want you to make sure you take care of Bobby. When he wakes up, let him know that I left." I said, "Oh man, I mean, come on, this is Whitney Houston. All you can do is say, okay, yes, okay." She left. Bobby got up, man. He was pissed. He was supposed to go do the video to the song he did with Ja Rule. Remember the song he got with Rule? And
Yeah, yeah, on the helicopter on the roof.
thug
Yeah,
loving, the thug loving, so he was pissed off. So he was drinking. Bobby drinks brews like crazy. He's a brew drinker. So we ended up going down to South Beach. I let him drive. He was fucked up, man. We almost got into 3 accidents. Flying down fucking 95. We get to the studio. It's a hotel, but it has a studio back in it. So I'll never forget my man BJ from Murder Inc. They pulled up and was like, "Yo, we got a private jet, man. Irv we gave Bobby a bunch of money, a couple of 100,000, 100,000 or something to come do this video." Bob's like, "I ain't going." So Bob's in the studio part. I'm at the front of the hotel. The studio's in the way in the back. So I said, I'm telling BJ, BJ, big nigga. You know what I'm saying? And I said, "All right, hold up, BJ and shit. Let me be right back and shit." So I go talk to Bob. He's like, "Man, fuck that shit. I ain't going, man." I'm like, "Look, Bob, bro." I'm like, I go back out there. They're like, "Nah, man." They said, "Listen, we can give him as long as it takes, but he got to come with us and shit." So I'm like, "Oh man, I'm in the middle of this shit." And I just remember, like, they called Irv, and Irv, he wasn't happy about it. Long story short, man, Bob finally got on the plane with him, went and did the video. It was a famous video because Bob looked like he was wired the fuck up and shit. But, you know, I remember Irv kind of thanking me, you know what I'm saying, getting Bobby to I got him to to the video and shit. Hype Williams directed the video and Irv was like, "Good luck, Congregio." And I was like, "No problem."
no, that's true. That's a
Crazy,
crazy story.
crazy story, man. It's just, it was, back then, we was doing so much and everything was moving so fast, man. Like I said, man, when I look at Irv just he was relentless. He never slept. I know Irv sleeping wasn't that good. He never slept. The man was in the studio. The man was and I'm telling you, he was a visionary. Like I said, there's a few motherfuckers who could do that, who can like Quincy Jones. Irv was like a baby Quincy Jones. That's a good comparison. If I compare to anybody to Irv Gotti was like Quincy Jones. God rest him.
That's where you there's a video of Irv talking about how Jay-Z didn't believe in DMX. But Irv, he put his heart and soul in what DMX was gonna be. With you being a founder of the Source, did you have the same faith that Irv had in what DMX was when you first heard him?
DMX is the only rapper I could put next to Pac. The only rapper. God rest him. And of course, I got stories about him too. You know what I'm saying? But X is the only rapper that I could put next to Pac. X's stage shows was amazing with no hype, man. X was really out here in the streets. The shit he rapped about, he really was out here doing. He really was a street nigga. Like X really loved the streets, loved the niggas in the streets. That's what Pac was. They didn't separate themselves after they got so big. X's style was so aggressive and dope, and that's what Pac was. Pac had an aggressive style. You know what I mean? Like, then Pac got the movies, then X got the movies, got into the movies. When you look at when you look at both of them two, they I could, Rapping wise, I could put Ice Cube and Face up there, but as far as what they did in the streets, I couldn't put them. And Face is my man because both those guys went through hell. X done went through jail sentences and everything with his career. You got to think about it. When you're a multimillionaire and you go through all this shit, you don't have to. But that's your allegiance to the streets and the bond. And some people will be like, well, yeah, man, you know what I'm saying? You ain't supposed to be back in the streets. But some niggas, it ain't like that for them. Some niggas, that's what they are and that's what they'll always be. And he wore that shit. And he just was what, honestly, I put him side by side with Tupac. That's why you really can't compare Biggie with Pac, because Biggie wasn't that type of a rapper or that type of a guy. More laid back. You could put Biggie synonymous with other people. But when you put Pac was a wild boy, X was a wild boy. And to be a wild boy and be on top of your game, there wasn't too many niggas doing that. I can only think of them two.
Shout out Reallyfe Street Starz, nigga. Move. Hey.